Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for stopping by for another episode of Friday Reads, where we talk about all the books I read this week and or plan on reading this weekend. So this week I managed to finish 3 books, and I'm starting 2 books. So one book is a physical book, and then another one is via Audible, and we'll get into that. But let's start with the books that I managed to finish. So from the last video I spoke to you guys, I said I had finished Curvy Girl Summer, and I had started reading Real by Kennedy Ryan. I don't have the book anymore. I ended up giving this book 2.75 stars. I personally felt like towards the end it dragged. I just wanted it to end. You know what I'm saying? I felt like it would have been nice had they had ended it when Kenan shows Neva the documentary that he's working on for her. It seemed like it closed really nicely there. But I can see where there is this interest to want to know what happened to the documentary, the success of it and all that stuff like that. But honestly, it was just okay. Even when he proposes to her, I was okay. I didn't really care. I just didn't really care. And I think when they started dating, I was just I don't care. Especially with Canon, I was one to say that I enjoyed Canon's character in the beginning, when he was Canon the director, when he was Canon the boyfriend. Oh my gosh, what a major turnoff. And mind you, he's 37. Okay, he's 37, and maybe this is a me thing because I've already discussed how I feel about romance. I can't vibe with it as much as I used to. Are men really like that? I get, your partner makes you feel some type of way sometimes, but all the time, it was just yo, he's 37. Why is he this way? There was a part where I literally surrendered. I threw my hands in the air. I gave up when Neva's rash starts to spread out, right? And so they go over to his house, and then she's getting ready to wash up or whatever the case may be. He doesn't want to leave her. He wants to stay. And she's feeling insecure. She doesn't want to expose herself this way. The way that he proves to her that he doesn't care what she looks like and that he's interested in her. Seriously, if my kids were outside, I would disclose. But I'm not gonna. And I was just really? This is the type of stuff that you deal with when you're in... when you just got out of high school type thing and you're in your early 20s, not 37. You could have conveyed your love for this person, your care for this person another way. And it was just so weird. And for me, Neva was never someone that I was interested to begin with. I've said before, I have a shared interest as far as acting goes. So I was interested to see how things kind of unfolded. What if people do find out that she's sleeping with the director? Will it backfire? Will it be a kind of a situation, which it kind of was, but it wasn't that much of a big deal. And other than that, I really didn't care. I didn't care. It went from her being an aspiring actress and him being a devoted director and him being devoted to Desi Blues. It completely went somewhere else to them just being obsessed with each other, which is that's a thing that happens. You know what I'm saying? We get obsessed with our partners and stuff like that. But the way in the beginning he was Desi Blue is my baby. She deserves to be respected. She deserves to get the spotlight on her story. She deserves to be put on the big screen so that people can acknowledge her greatness. I don't give a about Desi Blue. All I care is about Neva. And I was he's 37. He's 37. Okay. And I was so disappointed in Neva when she finally comes face to face with her sister and they discuss what happened. Hello, she took your fiance. And then when her sister tells her why she did it, when her sister goes yeah, I did it because you get everything that you want, and I saw an opportunity to take your fiance and I took it. It went from that to Neva saying I need to work on forgiving my sister. Yeah, okay, fine. I get that's the end goal, but she barely was able to come up with just words to express to her sister the level of pain and betrayal that her sister has caused her, as much as she did with her internal monologues when she was talking to us about it as the readers. You have the opportunity to say everything that you need to say, and they're having this back and forth. Her sister will say something like, oh, you're Hasidity, and then Neva's response is, Hasidity? Like, who cares about what your sister is saying? Like, say what you need to say. Say all the things that you were saying in your internal monologues to your sister. Say what you need to say. And it just was like, it felt like the sister got away scot-free with it. Technically she did, because she with the husband, and they love each other, right? The sister really, like, she explains more than Neva. But then eventually it's like, oh, you know, but I have a daughter now, and she's your niece, and so like let it go, and like you need a kidney, so, you know, just like let it go. And there is mention about therapy and stuff like that. But even towards the end, when they meet up for, you know, right before they do the surgery, her sister is still guarded. Like, her sister has no, she has no right to feel guarded. She has no right to have an attitude. And the fact that that focus shifts, and it becomes about her sister's trials and tribulations and needing to garner sympathy from Neva, was just so unnecessary. It's the same kind of tactic or same kind of situation that was used with their mom. So Neva gets ran out of town, and she has to like go to college and figure everything out all on her own and create a family of her own. And her sister gets to stay home even though she's struggling because they're young, and you know, she's pregnant, and like they need to like have it, they don't really have like a lot of money, and they don't have decent jobs and all that stuff like that. The mom has to choose the sister because Neva has a more promising future, which is so crazy to me. Like, how does that even make sense? Wrong is wrong, and that should be addressed. But also, too, don't let your other daughter, like, fend for yourself. And then when she finally comes back, and then the sister is, like, jumping down her throat, the mom's just sitting there, like, you know, like, not really being a good mediator. I just wanted them to, like, have her sister sit down and acknowledge and understand, like, really understand, like, hey, what you did was wrong. I get you were jealous. I get your sister's greatness made you feel insecure. I totally get that. But what you did was wrong, and you need to acknowledge that. So there was that situation. And, like, I don't know. Like, it's just so weird how we just did a whole, like, 180 on Canon. Like, it was just like he went from like being a very mature professional like man to like this horny, girl obsessed, over possessive boy. It was so weird that worked out that way. And I was just like, what the freak just happened here? As far as like the intensity of the interactions, I would say that was pretty anticlimactic. I thought that it was going to be like fireworks. I thought some stuff was going to go down, and it was like, it was so mid. I was like, all right, whatever. It was okay. I gave it, like I said, 2.75 stars. It was all right. It was okay. Let's see. Moving on to a book that I really enjoyed. So this is Now That I've Found You by Kristina Forrest. Yes, I'm reading another one of her books right now. Actually, as we speak, I'm listening to it via Audible. So this is a young adult book about a young lady named Evie who is an aspiring actress. She just booked a major role in this book to movie adaptation. Her friend gets like super jealous about it, and so she decides to make life hard for her. And that really broke my heart. That really broke my heart. I felt really bad for her. I know that some people found Evie's character to be pretty unbearable and unlikable, but I honestly liked her. I feel like, to me, I felt like Evie is the most genuine, likable character I've read in a while. Yes, she comes across as like that bratty, bratty young lady that has always gotten what she wanted, and things have been easy for her because her grandmother is a mega superstar, and like her parents are known for their documentaries, so they come from money, and so Evie never really had to want for anything. There's a personality that develops when something like that happens, but at the same time, what balances that ego, right, from potentially spiraling and blowing out of control is her inability to make genuine friendships. She spends a lot of her time alone. Her parents are usually gone filming and stuff like that, and whenever she hangs out with her grandmother, and so that has been her friend for a while until she meets this girl named Simone, and then they establish a friendship in high school, and they have been friends for 4 years. But then she finds out eventually that friendship was not what it seemed, and so she has this level of insecurity when it comes down to her and just not being able to connect with people and not being able to just be her authentic self and trust that other people will, when they present themselves to her, that they're honest, right? And their intentions are not selfish, self-serving. And so what can you do when you have these kind of situations and circumstances? I think that she was a really great character. I like the relationship that develops between Evie and Milo. Although, we do find out eventually why Milo hangs out with Evie, but you can tell that his feelings that he develops for her were genuine. I really loved the book. I thought it was really cute, and I especially love the ending. I love when I read books and I get to the end and I'm like, oh no, wait, what the heck? I'm taken aback because I'm like, oh dang, it's done. I love, more importantly, how mature Evie was with forgiving people. There was a line that the grandmother says that I loved so freaking much. She goes, sometimes trusting another person simply starts with believing that they want to do right by you. At that particular time in my personal life, I was just having discussions with my husband about, I was listening to Eckhart Tolle when they were talking, he was talking about it, whatever the case may be. And he was talking about how, if you label someone a liar, then that has now become the label and the scope that you view that person as. And so if you want to believe that person wants to do right by you, will no longer lie to you, will do the right thing, you have to give them space to prove that and to do that. And so I thought that was very, very interesting that it happened, that I came across and I read that, and the fact that she was able to forgive Simone, and she was able to forgive everybody who just did wrong by her, and it wasn't called for, it wasn't necessary, it wasn't warranted, you know what I'm saying? They just did it. Especially for Simone, her success made her feel highly insecure, enough to sabotage the relationship, enough to throw away 4 years of a relationship that could have been beautiful had it not been for envy and animosity. I love Kristina Forrest's books. I want to read all of them now. I am officially a fan. I gave Now That I Found You 4 stars. I also finished 7 Days in June by Tia Williams via Audible. Finally, that took me such a long time to finish. I gave it 2 stars. For me, I really wasn't interested in it. I think a lot of it has to deal with the narrator, but I think also too, I just didn't like the story. We followed we followed different perspectives, but mainly 2 perspectives. You have Eva, who is a writer, and she's pretty popular in her sector of writing, and then we follow a man named Shane, who is also an author, but he's more critically acclaimed, and we go into their shared history, how they were able to bond with one another through their trauma based off of their upbringings and their environment, and then they separate for some time, and then they rekindle their relationship when they run into each other at some sort of book conference or something like that. And then we just kind of go through those couple of days, I think it's 7 days of them exploring their feelings, their thoughts, discussing their past, feelings of betrayal, just answering, questions of where have you been? And, I was disappointed in this book because, for one, I wasn't really interested in Eva's character. I didn't really care for her too much. I think we spent way too much time trying to garner sympathy for her while she battled an invisible disability, while she struggled with trying to do the right thing as far as her career and just being a single mom, and not enough time discussing Shane. Even though we have his perspective, I would appreciate it more if we don't tap into Shane's perspective. I would understand. But because we have Shane's perspective, I would want a balance of us going into how things happen with Eva and how it felt for her, as well as Shane. And so, to me, it felt like I couldn't necessarily 100% trust that Eva's feelings and the narrative that Neva has in her head of this betrayal, I couldn't trust it wholeheartedly because she had this tendency to create this idea in order to cope or in order to feel comfortable with how she felt. And she did this with her mom, right? When she, instead of telling her daughter exactly the kind of person her mom was and what actually happened when, for her upbringing, she creates this image of her mom that is a feminist fighter of freedom and being yourself and pioneering and all this stuff that's not necessarily what that was. And so because of that, it made me feel like when we go into the past of Eva and Shane's relationship, right? And I'm inquiring, I'm curious as to what exactly did Shane do that makes her, in a sense, blame him for a lot of the feelings that she harbors, the pain that she harbors, the betrayal that she experienced. When we get to that moment, I was like, this was what that was? I was so upset. First of all, Shane, he expressed how he's trouble and he has issues and all that stuff like that. Eva decided to intrude on his already troubled life and then dump her troubles on him, and Shane then takes on this responsibility. Mind you, he isn't even equipped to be responsible of his own self, but he takes on that responsibility and he says to himself, okay, I'm going to protect her from the harms of the world, while at the same time she is a detriment to her own being herself. Both of them. And I'm just so glad that he finally tells her, because he says this thing here and I'm like, freaking time. So he says, you branded us. You did that. There isn't just one dangerous person here. There's two. We're the same. Because she has it in her head that what Shane did was so crazy that it was just deemed unforgivable. She couldn't move past that in order to rekindle their relationship. She couldn't move past that in order to just allow him back into her life. And which is understandable because at the time she didn't know what was going on or whatever the case may be. But when she finds the truth, and this is when I lost it, when she finds the truth of this betrayal, it still doesn't stop her from continuing to place that situation, that incident on him, and then that being how she judges him moving forward. This man went to jail. So she I think she overdoses or something like that, and it freaks Shane out enough that he calls her mom. Her mom comes, calls the cops. He gets locked up. He gets trialed as an adult. That's one of his fears, right? And so that happens. He gets locked up for a while, and then he gets released early on, because on account of good behavior. But when she finally finds out the truth of that situation, and then she confirms it with her mother, and then something happens in Shane's personal life, and so he can't make it to the brunch, she's like, here he goes again, being unreliable. Now I have to worry about me protecting my daughter from him. I don't want her to be exposed to his antics. She doesn't say antics, but it feels that way. It feels like what she's trying to say is some sort of pattern. And it's just what? First of all, that situation only happened one time. And it wasn't his fault. He went to jail. So to continue to keep that mark on him is ridiculous, is so selfish, and it's so unfair. And it just made me so angry that I was just like, I really could care less about them. I could care less about the relationship. I could care less if they got back together or not. Because it's like her unwillingness to step outside of her selfishness and her self-centeredness to see like, yo, he went to jail as a kid, as a minor, and he was around other criminal adults, and he blames him. He has a tendency to blame himself and perceive himself as someone who does harm to people that he loves and that love him. And so his self-worth is like in the negative. Like, I would think that she would have a little bit more sympathy for the guy, but it still seemed to be about her. Even when she's at the award ceremony and she's like, it's about me and like what she could do for herself and how she could get better with herself, and it was just like, yeah, that's fine, you know, like it's your life or whatever the case may be, but not in a way that like feels like, okay, I don't need this relationship, and as if like the relationship that was there, even though I didn't think it was all that, because like they were literally not even that, they weren't together for like that long, but it's like the way that she says it in like in this dismissive way, right, as if like she didn't play a part in like traumatizing him or harming him. It was just like, this is about me and what I can do for myself, how I can do better for myself and for my daughter and for my life. And it's very triumphant, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, it's also at the same time dismissing like what just happened with the guy, you know what I'm saying? Like and it's so crazy to me. I just didn't like it. And I was just like, all right, whatever. I feel like the only person, you know, who was like sensible in this situation was the daughter. Because it's like the daughter tells Shane to get therapy. And it's like, Eva hasn't, when she finds out that when he went to prison or whatever the case may be, Eva doesn't even mention him going to therapy. At least maybe I'm hearing wrong or I didn't hear it at the time. But I'm like, it was like, you felt bad a little bit. But like, even when he experiences losing a student, she's like, she felt bad or whatever, but what was still at the forefront was the relationship that could potentially happen or she could potentially have. And it was just like, So in the words of Audrey, I'll end this with this. She goes, love isn't safe and obvious. Love is risky. Okay, so on to like a really cool book that I'm reading. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. I am reading YellowFace by R.F. Kuang. I'm currently on page 97 of this book. I started it last night and I have been just going in and just like really enjoying myself with this read. Like, I know like the main character is controversial and I think that's the point, but she's another one that's supposed to be considered like an unlikable character. We followed this author named June Hayward, and on the night of celebrating her, you know, her friend's deal with Netflix, because her friend, who is an Asian American, she is also an author herself. And so they were able to seal some sort of deal that they had with turning her book into a Netflix movie or like series or something like that. I don't remember. But on the night of their celebration, her friend dies. Her friend's name is Athena, but Athena dies. And June takes her manuscript of a book that Athena had just finished. She takes it for herself. And she changed some things around a lot, and she publishes it as her own. And we pretty much spend a good portion of what I've read so far with June kind of trying to justifying why she feels like this was necessary for her to do. In a way, kind of thinking of this act as a form of reparations. I just think that this book is so funny, and it explores a lot on the relationship dynamic when there is envy in the middle. June has made it very clear that she's very jealous of Athena, her success, and how she feels like things have come easy for her because she is the overall diverse package. And so it's not just her talent, Athena's talent alone, because she does acknowledge that she is pretty talented, but she thinks that Athena has some sort of invisible leg up. And because of this leg up that Athena has, June feels like this act has robbed her of her own success. And what I think is really interesting that she never really explores whether or not she feels like she was actually robbed, or maybe she just wasn't that good. And so maybe that's why things didn't work out. But this kind of also explores this internal insecurity or misplaced insecurity that Caucasian people may have when they fear that they're losing their jobs to minorities, or they fear that they're losing their stronghold on their so-called liberty, freedom, and justice. I just think that is funny. I like June because there is an honesty to her. Better out than in, you know? And so, like, it's just really funny to me just kind of watching her just be in this space of avenging her shortcomings or that inner loser that is, like, inside of her. And she's just basking in the success of this newly published novel that she stole from her friend that she didn't really like in the first place, because her envy was so strong that she couldn't really see Athena for who she was. And I think that maybe it was both ways. There was something that was pretty interesting that June brings up, which makes me feel a little bit unsure if I should like take that into account, because we are getting it from her perspective and she is trying to justify her actions. But she does discuss how she feels the reason why Athena kept her around was because it felt good to kind of like rub her success in her face and be around someone that she didn't feel as a threat, and to use her failures as a measurement of her astounding success. Last but not least, I just started, like literally a few hours ago, I had just started the Partner Plot by Kristina Forrest. We are following the middle child of the Green sisters, so Violet Green. And right now the part where I'm at, we're kind of going back in time to this relationship that she has with a guy named Xavier. She is a dancer at her school. He is a football player, I think. And they're pretty popular and they date each other and they fall in love. And eventually they break up, I'm guessing. And then we fast forward to her life currently, and like she bumps into him again. And then like they have some sort of like they get drunk, they get married. And then I guess like they are just kind of like maintaining a fake relationship kind of thing, and it's supposed to be like a second chance kind of like romance or whatever the case may be. I know in book 1 she was engaged to be married and like she ends up getting played. We're gonna see how this whole like fake relationship thing kind of like goes down, and we'll see how like maybe I don't know I could be wrong, but maybe they'll fall in love again, and then like it'll be like a beautiful kind of like relationship. Or who knows, maybe they like might break up and then like she finds someone else. I don't know. Honestly, I thought in Career Girl Summer that Aaliyah was going to end up with Marcus, and that wasn't the case. So I don't want to place no bets, but I am enjoying it. I think it's like really fun. I love Kristina Forrest's writing. It's just amazing. It's like sweet. It's like to the point, and it's fun. Her ideas are fun. And so I'm really excited to listen to it and get into it. The voice actors are amazing. I mean, well, okay, the girl, I like the girl's voice. The guy, I don't know. Like he just kind of like feels like a little bit robotic, and his voice is like extremely deep. It's like a deep kind of like AI kind of like sound to it. I don't know, but I like the story, so I don't really care. And so yeah, I'm gonna end this here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of Friday Reads. I hope you guys were able to enjoy yourself. Make sure you guys have a great day, afternoon, evening, night, morning, wherever you're watching in the world. Until next time, peace.